I struggled with reading difficulties at a young age. When I was actually interested in reading a particular book, my educators told me that such and such is too advanced for you. I'd argue that I could do it, that I could prove them wrong. And to prove their point, they'd ask me to read it out loud. I would awkwardly attempt to read to them, and they would retort, "See? Now why don't you try reading this or that?" Often choosing something I found little to no interest in reading. It was embarrassing and humiliating, but even worse, their actions have caused me to find the act of reading dull and boring. So it may go without saying that I've never been much of a reader growing up. Even to this day do I rarely pick up a book and read for more than a moment. From a young age, I've always been far more interested in creating my own worlds and my own stories, often drawing fan fiction or original content all my own. I always joked that I could write a book before I'd read one, so it may seem odd that someone like me, who didn't really pick up a book till college, could write one. I had a story I needed to share with the world, something that meant a lot to me and could bring joy to others, and writing was one of the best ways to achieve it. Without other books for inspiration, how would one even know how to write a book, or even where to begin, some may ask. I'd argue that great writing is spread across all kinds of different mediums, that even some may surpass the greatest books ever written. These are my sources of inspiration. I believe this gives my writing a unique twist because most of my perspective and technique arises from visual media. Television, movies, anime, and especially video games acted as my inspiration for my themes and how I paint pictures in the minds of my readers. Just as those mediums pulled me into their worlds, I wish to pull people into mine visually through my words. I could cite sources like The Last Airbender and its effective world building, Naruto and its themes of forgiveness and redemption, the visually stunning style of Man of Steel, but the core inspiration for OREGONIA comes from my love of The Legend of Zelda, its worlds, its characters, and themes. This is how The Legend of Zelda influenced OREGONIA and The Legend of the Myce. The original concept came from a desire to tell a story for preteens and onwards, something I can share with all ages, something that was more palatable than my overactive, highly stylized, and sometimes violent imagination had concocted at the time. So a family-friendly epic series like Zelda was a great place to start. I had always loved the idea of someone smaller than life up against a world that towered over them, and I believe the Minish Cap captured a similar vision with great detail. The Quarry were a source of inspiration for the Myce, small mice-like creatures living in the nooks and crannies of dense forests, hidden from the rest of the world or sometimes hiding in plain sight. Creatures so small that everything around them feels grand yet dangerous. Similar to the Myce, I once felt small and insignificant, but desired to share a story that could touch millions. It seemed ambitious for a 20-something-year-old who didn't like being the center of attention, and honestly, it still is. But as long as I can reach people and make them happy, the same way The Legend of Zelda reached me and took me into its many worlds through its convoluted timeline, then I'm happy. Like Eli and Link, we three are seemingly content with our simple lives, but desire something far greater that I believe is innate in all of us. Possibly even as important as fighting tremendous odds in the face of great hardship is the sense of whimsical adventure that I felt with each new discovery. One of the greatest joys of a Zelda game is watching in awe as you go from your small innocent village into a wide open world full of adventure and secrets to unfold. They say the journey is more important than the destination. I say the journey, if truly fulfilling, will make the destination all the more worthwhile. Like the Legend of Zelda series, Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time, for example, come to mind. OREGONIA follows a similar structure of humble beginnings followed by a call to action. In Twilight Princess, it was the kidnapping of Ilia. Ocarina of Time, it was the death of the Deku Tree, and in OREGONIA, it was the raiding of Eli's home of Cloverfield. In shorter terms, I designed OREGONIA in a level-by-level video game-like structure, a framework that I was all too familiar with. As Eli and his friends discover new villages, some small and quaint, others bustling and lively, they too must save the innocent from the monsters rising over the dark horizon. One by one, they take away from each experience, growing as characters, physically and emotionally, as a player may grow in skill and arsenal, slowly preparing for the epic conflict with the final boss. The world of Zelda wasn't the only inspiration, but the character of Link himself acted as a base of sorts for Eli. Early on in Eli's development, I considered making him very quiet and taking on his quest solo, not unlike the titular hero of time. Just as Link's design was inspired by the carefree youngster Peter Pan, Eli's design concept originated from that classic green tunic that cried out for adventure and matched the naturally beautiful forgotten world I imagined. Like Link, and even more similar to Peter Pan, Eli sports a green tunic completely woven from nature, leaves and roots and such, with a brown hemp sash around his waist, reminiscent of Link's attire in Skyward Sword. He even wears a small green cap and a bold red scarf. Though it was important, however, that Eli grew into his own character by design and personality. First off, Eli is a Myce, small yet brave, and unique amongst other Myce in fact. I suppose similar to how Link has long distinctive ears like an elf, Eli, even amongst the Myce, stands out in a crowd with his long furry ears with 5 individual points, much like a spiky-haired anime protagonist. To face the ever-growing threats of Mother Nature and the impending darkness, Eli evolves to meet it, acquiring newer, better gear, from weapons to armor and even some trinkets, slowly becoming his own individual separate from those who inspired him. He is somewhat shy, much like Link, and even a little cocky at times, much to Peter Pan's detriment. But he is also humble and kind, always looking out for the creatures of Mother Nature, even at his own risk. Whether they be downtrodden wraiths of the rat descent, birds of prey that frighten him to his core, or the colossal bears that roam the misty forests of the sacred woods. A common theme that lures in the back of many of the best Zelda titles is a sense of long-lost dark history. Wars, calamities, acts of gods. Hyrule has suffered throughout the ages only to rise again. So too has the world of OREGONIA, lost by mankind and reclaimed by Mother Nature. Very early in development, I wanted the Myce to live amongst the humans, much like the Quarry did, and once upon a time they did. But the further along my story progressed, the more the idea of mankind fell to the wayside, before finally being written deep in a dark past shrouded by shadow and sorrow. Much like Link and the Hylians, Eli and the Myce are left to face the mistakes of the past, suffering for the sins committed by others. Eli and OREGONIA are different from Link and the never-ending curse that plagues Hyrule. Eli's genuinely kind and overly forgiving nature could be the catalyst that leads to peace and harmony, but only if he can understand the suffering of others, learn to forgive himself, and finally mend the bonds broken by heartache. Thanks for watching my video. It was fun to write and difficult to edit, but I did it. Not only did I get to tell you about my book, but also I got to talk about one of my favorite gaming franchises. I don't typically ask of this, but if you guys could like this video and please consider subscribing, and if I've piqued your interest, why not check out my book, OREGONIA and the Legend of the Myce. You can find it on Amazon or even read the first 5 chapters free on Wattpad. Links in the description below. Tell me what you guys think of the video. I'd love to do another one of these on my other inspiration, Kingdom Hearts. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Peace.